I'm Rich Carroll. This local news is a service of Flagler County's Toyota dealer, Beaver Toyota, here to wow you. 3 people were seriously hurt after a head-on crash on Belterre Parkway. It happened Tuesday just after 1 in the afternoon. Crews arrived on scene to find 3 adults, all who needed emergency transport. Victims were extricated from 2 vehicles, and all 3 were taken by ambulance to the trauma center at Halifax Hospital with what appeared to be non-life-threatening injuries. The Florida Highway Patrol is investigating the cause of the crash, which shuttered the southbound lanes of Belterre Parkway for about 90 minutes. For the second time, a decision on whether to close a Palm Coast roadway has been pushed off. John Arking reports.
At Tuesday morning's Palm Coast City Council meeting, the council once again voted to table a decision on closing Slowway Road in the Seminole Woods neighborhood. The decision was previously tabled at their March 2nd meeting as well. Vice Mayor Eddie Branchino spoke in opposition to the closure, saying it would create major traffic issues.
One of the problems that we saw that I just presented to you this morning was if anyone comes up on 325, which they could, and if they can't turn onto Slowway, how are they going to go back? They can't turn the cars around there. There's no place to do that. In order to close Slowway, we're going to have to spend the money and go into somebody else's property in order to leave room for someone to turn. They have no way to turn. We have bad drivers, no doubt about it. And the proof was that we saw some tire marks there. In that half hour, we saw 1 car.
Since the March 2nd meeting, another traffic analysis was done by Palm Coast traffic engineer, which staff then used to conclude it would be best to close the roadway. But Mayor Melissa Holland says the entire discussion is likely premature to begin with.
I would have preferred you go to the county to come up with an agreement before you bring it to this council for adoption, because what I would hate to see is have zero input from the county. This is what happens in Flagler County. We go through an exercise without our neighboring governing partner, and we're adopting something that, frankly, we don't know the county's input and what they're capable of doing, what they're willing to do. So I would have preferred it to be a complete comprehensive package coming before us for adoption to say we've met with our county partners. That's just not been done.
The traffic engineer cited aggressive driving as the main reason for closing Slowway. It's unclear when the matter will be brought back to City Council. From the WNZF Newsroom, I'm John Arking.
MedNext, the medical innovation hub that's coming to Palm Coast Town Center, won't be building anew. Amy Cherry has more.
For now, they're renting existing facilities through the city and developer Douglas Properties. University of North Florida President David Szymanski tells WNZF's Free for All Friday that remodeling and construction is slated to start any day now.
We're beginning by remodeling right on the square. And so we're going to have space there. We're going to have 2 classrooms. We're also going to have a skills lab. Skills lab is important with beds and equipment where we train people, how to be effective nurses. And so we'll have offices there, too, for faculty to come down. And we'll have a full-time director down there in Palm Coast.
He says architects are on board and they're in the process of getting final cost estimates. Classes are slated to start on site training future medical leaders this fall through the public-private collaboration that involves Daytona State College, Advent Health, Elite Energy, the City of Palm Coast, and Flagler Schools. Szymanski adds the $6 million that MedNext is getting from the state is aimed at covering all of their programs, including the costs of staff, so they'll have to look at funding for future growth.
Funding is relatively limited now in the state for building, and so we're making sure that we work this through. But we'd love to continue to grow and continue to have those discussions and figure out, in the next couple of years, how can we continue to grow out the facilities. I think our real goal right now is to make sure we're starting this program as soon as possible. And so that's why the remodeling of existing facilities will allow us to really get up and going by August, and that's a key for us.
Walker Douglas of Douglas Properties says MedNext will only generate more growth in town center.
Between all the commercial upcoming as well, the idea obviously is to have sort of a bigger presence at some point with UNF and then Jacksonville University. We've got players that compete on the national level. This program is going to deliver folks all over the country, ideally regionally, because we need the services here, but we're imagining there's going to be sort of a larger footprint.
The wait list for a T-hanger at the Flagler Executive Airport just got shorter. Karen Johnson has the details.
The Board of County Commissioners at its regular meeting this week approved a Florida Department of Transportation public transportation grant agreement for $117,000 that will completely fund the design costs for 3 new T-hangar buildings of 14 units each, a total of 42 new hangars. Flagler County Airport Director Roy Seeger.
It'll take about, anywhere from 90 to 120 days to design. point. After that, we will go out and we will bid it. We're expecting the bid prices to come in anywhere between $2.8 million. The airport will have to pay 20% of that, which is about $560,000 to build.
The last time additional T hangars were added to the airport assets was in 2011. 2 buildings housing 10 hangars each were built. Seeger says none of the airport's operating funds or capital project funds come from property tax. Everything is paid for through revenues from grants or earned through ground and building leases and fuel sales. The Florida Department of Transportation is committed to paying 80% of the $6.5 million project total that Seeger says is financially sound. For Flagler's Morning News, I'm Karen Johnson.
How do those who handle a prescribed fire know when to start one?
Michael Orlando says the conditions have to be just right.
Through the history of prescribed fire application, really learning from a lot of others that have done it before us, and then we monitor the weather. That gives us a specific set of parameters, and our schooling actually will tell us what those specific parameters are.
Orlando is the Flagler County Prescribed Fire Program Supervisor.
If they're one way too extreme or too light, then the fire won't go as planned.
He said that about 8 staff members would be on hand for training during a prescribed fire. The Flagler Voice is on every Saturday morning at 8:30. The podcast is on the Flagler radio app. Tomorrow, Michael Orlando has fought fires across the country. From the WNZF Newsroom, I'm Deb Albertson.
And now you're up to date on Flagler's Morning News. I'm Rich Carroll.